Yeah, good evening, sir. My name is Raphael Tevatu from Global Global News Television. With Engineer Ibrahim Ali, a former Minister of Petroleum, former MD Federal Housing Authority, former House of Rep, member 1979 53. And so for the purpose of our viewers who will be reading and listening to our conversation with you online, um, you will still introduce yourself properly as you deem it fit, sir.
Okay. Well, nice talking to you, and I hope we can have some fruitful interactions. Yes, I think you caught almost everything, except that I was the MD CEO of Federal Housing Authority. I was member of House Rep. We are the pioneer of the presidential system, and that was in 1979 to 83 under a minority party called the GNPP. But we serve not necessarily as member of the Defense and Public Accounts Committee. We engage ourselves in almost everything that had to do with the issue before the House. And we participated very actively in all sectors. So after that one, I think I had the opportunity to be elected as a chairman of the Maiduguri Metropolitan Council. And later on, I had a spate with other political elective attempts, aspirant in the SDP, aspirant in the ACN 2011. I also served as honorary advisor to the governor of Borno State from 2012 to 2019. So, and I was also advisor on agriculture, and I also headed the agri transformation. And it was expected to come on stream on post-Boko Haram remedy to some of our economic problems. So I think that's what I would say, except that my major preoccupation now is I do big-time farming, mostly mechanized, large scale. And I also have quite a, I would say, small-scale industries here and there, in terms of building components in red bricks, and also processing of farm produce. But Boko Haram has disturbed all that. So you can go ahead now.
Okay,
I think that's it.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you. So, listening to your profile and everything shows you are not only an administrator but also a politician. And it's always said a politician is always a politician. Nigeria have just witnessed a new government that came in not 2 weeks ago. It's at why should Nigeria be expecting from the new administration that just came?
Well, I think they should expect a lot more, because if you read the manifesto of the president now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you will find a very rich bouquet of his hopes and aspirations for the country. His speech at the inaugural speech really captured the frame of mind of President Bola Tinubu. I think he's ready for an all-inclusive government. He is also ready to radically transform some of the issues that are plaguing Nigeria, especially the issue of insecurity. I think he is ready to tackle it. I think he's likely to be assisted by a veteran of insecurity, Kashim, who had the cool temperament to deal with the situation, and a hardened solution seeker on insecurity. He started off really hoping it would be over, but then things hardened, and it hardened him, and it sharpened and honed his attitude towards dealing with the solutions. thank God, we are now expecting a very good outing. They said they will hit the ground running, but you should also now say that we have got quite experienced politicians. When I listened to President Bola Tinubu in inaugural day, he said he has not seen subsidy in the budget that he inherited. Therefore, it means there is no subsidy on fuel. I think he left it like that. A lot of people read a lot of meaning to that one. And I think there is substance in what he said. I think he's ready for consensus. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I think that is the way to do it. And that issue can be settled to really give a breathing space for Nigerians, improve the finances, improve the economy. And since he said he may reach a very high degree of efficiency in the financial sector, both in terms of internally generated revenue and also in the expenditure profile. So I expect a lot more. And we have little advices here and there on this issue. So I think his manifesto covered almost everything. And his manifesto also covered how to unify the exchange regime, especially the forex regime. So I think we expect a lot from him. I think that particular aspect will bring sanity to the country.
Thank you very much again for a wonderful answer. So still on the subsidy, you mentioned so we looked at Nigerians, both home and abroad, the meaning of subsidy, because there's a lot of heat and argument on subsidy. So in a nutshell, what is subsidy and what is subsidy?
Well, not in a nutshell. It's a very complex issue. And I will tell you what is going on. Last month, Nigeria was extracting 966,000 barrels of oil per day of the light crude. And it's importing PMS, which is the petrol. If you want to find out the equivalent quantity, it's about 750,000 barrels of oil per day equivalent in terms of the dollar terms. That is at the rate of about $85 per barrel. And you have to sell 750,000 to bring in 60,000 tons of petrol to distribute in the country. So by the time you sell that at the rate which Buhari presented his budget, you spend $64 million per day, close to $65 million per day. And what you take out of that one is about 280,000 equivalent barrels of oil per day. So you can now see the subsidy level. You spend 750,000 units, you only recover 280,000 units. So the deficit is 470,000 barrels of oil per day. This is the one we throw because we didn't price it properly. Now, the reason why it is so is because the cost of import is directly related to the cost of crude oil that you sell. If the crude oil is at $80 and you have got this X amount, if it passes $80 per barrel, then the cost of your import also increases. If it drops to say $50 per barrel, the cost of import also drops. So you have no control whatsoever over the cost of crude oil in the international market. And refiners in Europe and America and some of the countries in this world buy crude oil at the prevailing prices. They refine it, recover their cost, pay their refining fees, pay their taxes, load it on a ship and bring it to Nigeria. And usually, at the time he presented the budget, the general rule of thumb was about $1,000 per barrel, per metric ton. And you need 60,000 metric tons. So now talking about in the region of 64, 65 million dollars per day. So the subsidy is on the 750 equivalent 750,000 barrels of oil per day expenditure and recovery of 280,000 barrels per day in terms of the sales proceeds, because you have to look at it, the sale on the basis of 128 naira at that time at the depot, and it is sold cheaply to Nigeria. So Nigeria is depleting, is bleeding. And that arrangement also meant, if you had his budget in the 2023 budget, we had a deficit of about 6.4 trillion naira per year. That's a colossal loss, because almost over 1/4 of the budget went on the subsidy. So our subsidy is based on the pricing. Now, this pricing, you don't have control over the crude oil prices, and you don't have control over the purchase price of those refined products, simply because your refineries are not working. But the only thing that you have control is to fix the price of the product, which is from the depot. You can do that. You can also fix the exchange rate you are going to use to deal with the matter. If it is going to be 435, that was the thesis of his presentation in the 2023 budget, 423.11 naira per dollar. But the open market is what government has not been able to really control, which reached up to 750 naira to the dollar. So there are elements which the government can control, there are elements which the government cannot control. But the 70% of national revenue is in that particular sector of oil. And I would say bonylite crude oil, that was the number one export premium crude oil which the world is looking for.
So, having said this, what do you think is the way forward, sir?
What do you say?
I say, what is the way forward?
Well, the way forward had been tried before. When we are with the government of national interim government of His Excellency late Chief Anas Shonakan, the first serious attempt was made to remove the subsidy, which really resulted in the government collapsing. And we got a military administration of General Sani Abacha, who suspended the increase at that time to a mere 3 naira 50 kobo. And then it was brought up. Now, the reason why it was brought up was to also, because even at that time, Chief Anas Shonakan also worked profusely on how to cushion the impact of the fuel increase to 3 naira 50 kobo. And when the government was deposed, the new administration took its time and then worked out on the palliatives. And that palliative resulted in establishment of what we call Petroleum Trust Fund, PTF. Some of you are beneficiaries of the PTF under the chairmanship of Muhammadu Buhari, General Muhammadu Buhari. I think that's what brought him back to administration after his ouster in 1985. He came back again in 1995 after 10 years as chairman of the PTF. So governments all over have been trying to find a solution to how to deal with this problem. And I think we missed some opportunities, but now we can, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is now placed in a unique opportunity to map out a very high quality decision process that will now face the reality of what we have in Nigeria. So I think it is not something new. I think this attempt is going to save a lot of money. I think everybody has seen the danger of subsidizing 6.4 trillion. 6.4 trillion is 6,400 billion naira per year. And that is about, I don't know, it's a substantial loss in revenue. I don't expect it to be very high, but I think governments can do a lot on that side, yes.
Okay, sir. And so I have been into petroleum knowledge, farming, and other vast economic activities. And you've been in a position to tell Nigeria, so let me not say advise the government, but how do you think Nigeria can have it right in improving our economy?
Well, one of the legs of that particular proposal is in the petroleum subsidy issue. That petroleum subsidy issue cannot be divorced from the cost, from the sales purchase price of crude oil in the international market, which means since you have got such an incapacity to do your internal processing, which means your refineries are not working. Even if you are working, they can only give you less than 50% of your national demand. You still have to import about 50%. Even if it are working, they will still incur costs, but the costs are not going to be as significant as what people expect, because a lot of people expect that if this is working, it's okay, the Kaduna refinery, Warri refinery, and Port Harcourt we are out of the woods. No, we are not going to be out of the woods. I think it will satisfy less than 50% of our requirement. If you add in Dangote refinery, which is a private sector refinery, I always factor in as if you are buying from Antwerp or from some other north west refineries. So Dangote refinery can give you some respite. It will not clearly remove your national demand. It cannot satisfy everything. But it can meet the demand and even surpass the demand for diesel if it is working on the 650,000 barrels of oil per day maximum capacity. So I think we should be very proud that at least we may not be able to, we may not import all the diesels. In fact, we are going to export excess diesel. We call it made in Nigeria diesel. If we can cut down the consumption, you put together the domestic three domestic refineries and Dangote's output, you may get very little to add from outside. But remember, all the sales that we do of these products, petroleum, diesel, kerosene, aviation fuel, ATK, are all denominated in Naira. And they need to buy their crude oil in dollars, or even their machinery and things like that in dollars. So you will allow some aspect of the Dangote products to be sold in hard currency to offset their loans and so on and so forth. So I think we should be very careful about doing that one, but it will give a big relief to the Nigerian economy.